A warm welcome to Disky Talk with Luyolo. If you're tuning in for the very first time, I do ask that you please subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you've been a part of this journey, I hope you thoroughly enjoy this episode. So, on today's special episode, I'm joined by a great man. He goes by the name of Fenzo. How are you doing, bro?
I'm good.
All the way from Bloemfontein. How's Joburg treating you?
It's good. Yeah.
Lovely to have you on the episode. This is a man that I've wanted on the podcast for the longest of time. Great to have him on finally. So, on today's episode, we discuss all things Dstv Premiership action as we have a look at the Dstv Premiership log standing. So, we're going to have a look at all 16 teams. We'll start from number 16 and work our way up to number 1. And then, in the extra time segment, we will then analyze and predict the upcoming games this week, as we do know that it is the last week of Dstv Premiership action before we close. So, let's get right into it. At number 16, we've got Baroka. They've played 16 and they've on 10 points and they've only won 2 games. What do you make of Baroka's season so far?
Yeah, they've only accumulated 10 points this whole season. Just a few thoughts is that I watched the match on Saturday I believe. It was against Stellenbosch, and yeah, the performance was good in terms of play, but in terms of finishing, attacking wise, was absolutely horrendous. I saw evidence Mahopa playing off the right, and I'm like, a lot is happening here. Mbulu was missing chance after chance. It's not working out, and you know when you have coaches like Tokamatimel originally, and then you're talking about Coach Holoket Tabajani, great in terms of man managing, motivating players, but when it comes tactically, it's not make sure. It's not make sure. They aren't really secure tactically. I think that's what I'd say. But you know, Baroka is always here, always dangling 15, 14, 16, ever since they got promoted. I think 4 or 5 years back. Yeah, Baroka is never. I don't think. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they finished above the top 10. They've always been there 10 to 16. That is the area. So I'm not really sure but the competition is tough this year. So I think maybe they might sneak in 14th, but there's a strong chance that they get relegated this season.
There's a strong chance you think that they'll get relegated.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah. So the biggest thing about Baroka for me is the finishing. You know, final third is where it all counts, you know, and if you don't make it count in the final third, you're not going to win games. And what's then surprising is that, like you mentioned, they've got Mahopa, you know, who at times we've seen him, you know, sort of play off the right, you know, and that then becomes very, very confusing, you know, especially when you look at him that he's a national team striker, you know. So you'd like to think that if you've got a national team striker, we're going to get goals. There's Mbulu as well, who misses, he misses quite a lot of chances. I think that will be the decider if they stay up or not. You know, if they can just work on their finishing, I think they can just survive. But what sticks out like a sore thumb for me is that technical team, you know, and for the longest of times, I've just felt that the types of coaches that Baroka get, you know, and I like Holoko Tobejan, you know, I really like his charisma, I love his personality and what he would bring to a dressing room, you know, I just believe that coaches have to be tactically advanced and you need a coach with tactical nous to be able then to impose himself tactically when it comes to certain games. And if you look at that game against Mamelodi Sundowns, that's a great example, you know, how he got tactically outfoxed by a team that was short of one man, you know, and that was a game that I felt he had the tactical acumen. He's able then to make a change where they press on and they win the game. You know, those type of games, you have to win them. Yes, I understand it's Mamelodi Sundowns, but if you're brave and you go for it, you get the 3 points and it takes you out of the relegation zone. So when we move on then, we have a look at Swallows. They've played 17 games. They've also won 2 and they sit on 13 points. What do you make of Swallows this season so far as they've just acquired the services of Mr. Dylan Kerr?
You know, our draw kings, our favorite draw kings, you know these people love draws. I think, you know, our draw kings
Yeah.
I think it's been interesting how this season has evolved. I think the managerial turmoil hasn't really helped our situation, as you see with many teams at the bottom. You first had Brandon Tutor. Brandon Tutor was suspended, came in Simo Tlala, and then you've had now Coach Dylan Kerr being helped by Fanny Madita. And I don't get it because, you know what, they have such a brilliant team. When I see the talent in there, I see a top 6 team, a team that is supposed to be pushing top 6. You have a few players on loan from Pirates, Munapule Saleng, you have Augustine Muowo, you have Musonda. Musonda was one of the top goal scorers in the PSL a few seasons back with Black Leopards. So imagine what quality. You have Street Bash, Keletso Mahaula. You have quality players. Hamildin, who scored 12 goals in the Prem last season. You go to midfield, Magerman, Tibet, even though we haven't seen a lot of him. You have quality there. You have quality. I think, but the goalkeeping department, I think, is something that is. I haven't been convinced by Jody February, even Tela Ngobeni when he's been given a chance. You have, but in terms of the centre backs, I love Wandisile Litlavik.
Yeah,
I've watched him since the Celtic days. I never actually thought he could reach such a high level because he was decent at Celtic. But when he went to Salazar, I'm like, what is he going there?
Yeah,
we have Thabo Matlaba. You have off the left Langerman, but Langerman. I think he was great in his prime.
You touched on the goalkeeping department. I want us to have a look at Swallows and let's have a look at if they were then to institute and put out their best 11. Who do you think it will be? Let's start in goal. So you mentioned the goalkeeping department. You said that you haven't been convinced by Taylor. You haven't been convinced by February. So who would you have in goals then?
I think February, I would have said February for a young player, but because he's on loan, stick with Tela Ngobeni.
And then are we going with the back 4?
I think your back 4 has to be the play here.
Yeah, they've been going the back 4. So when you have a look at the back 4, as the 2 centre backs, who would you go with?
I'd say Litlavika and who else? Who plays at centre back? I think you can help me with that option.
So when I look at Swallows, right, as the right-sided centre-back, I'd go with Litlabiga. As the left-sided centre-back, I'd go with Mohamed. Especially considering that he's left-footed and he can also play in the left-back position. Very strong 1v1. So whenever then that ball is played into that channel just behind the left-back, he can deal with those 1v1 situations. Very comfortable on the ball, and he also offers that line-breaking pass, so he will be able then to advance the ball from deeper pockets of spaces and, then work it into vertical zone 3. So I think I'd have them as a pair. And then at right back, who are we looking at?
I think just to comment a bit on Mohamed.
Yeah.
I think he impressed me a bit I believe it was in the Olympics.
Yeah.
When he played in that back 3, and then I was impressed. Not defensively, obviously, you know what happened, but in terms of his ball playing ability, and you say his ability to give us a defense splitting pass, I think I was convinced there.
Yeah.
So you have right back. I think you go with the experience. My captain, Thabo Matlaba.
Yeah.
You go with Thabo Matlaba. Left back, you go for Yagan Sassman. Left back.
Yeah.
And then in the midfield 3, I'd be looking to institute Magerman. Who's this? TBAD.
Yeah.
And then as the third option, I would actually be looking to institute a 4-4-2.
Yeah.
When you look at your 4-4-2, I think people might say this is a bit attacking, but when you institute your 4-4-2, you come like this, you go like this, and then you come like this. Then off the left, you'll have Streetbash. Streetbash will also drift inside. Will also be able to have a free roll a bit. Drift inside. You have off the right. You have Munapule Saleng.
Yeah.
Munapule Saleng, very effective player, top goal scorer in the NFT last season.
Yeah.
And then you take your 2, Hamildin, and then also who do you call him? Musonda. And I think, obviously, many people might say this is an attacking lineup, but I'm a person of attacking football. I'm a front foot attacking football. And trying to be conservative hasn't really been working with them. So I say, use the tools that you have at your disposal, hit them with the attack, because PSL, we focus too much on being defensive and defense first. So hit them with the attack.
And I think that's why a lot of teams end up cancelling each other out, and we see a lot of draws, So I see this is a very attacking lineup. So this is what I would do. In goals, I'd go with Jody February. My two centre backs, I've got Mohamed, I've got Litlabika there. And then at right back, I would go with Matlaba. And then at left back, look, yeah, very interesting. In fact, at left back, I would actually go with Mohamed. And then I'd go with Junaid Said to partner Litlabika. Because I just think that, yes, Mohamed is not really then going to offer that width in terms of going forward, which is not an issue because then my left wing will, and Mohamed will be a lot more reserved. So at times then, if my left wing does give the width in that sense, Mohamed would sort of invert and come in and look to play because he's comfortable on the ball. I would go with him because I just think he's a better option than Langerman and Sassman as well. And then I would be looking to play a 4-2-3-1. So I would go with a double pivot of Magaman and Tibedi as well. Especially when I look at it then, I'm looking at two players then who are well adept at progressing the ball from deep pockets of spaces. Yes. And Tibedi is a player then who, at times he can occupy that role of a deep laying playmaker, and you can progress the ball very well. Magaman would be the one then to sit at times, look to start play. And and this would be then a midfield two, then I believe that would really help Solos to play on the front foot. And what I like about both of them is that they've got those line-breaking passes. They've got those vertical passes. When they get the ball, they're very direct. Yes. They're always looking to find that pass, And then, having a look at it then, I would have Makhalwa off the one side. I'd have Solomons off the other side. I'd give Saleng a free roll, and then I'd have Musonda up front, and then I'd always be looking to bring Khamaldinian off the bench, as an impact player, especially when you consider his speed and what then he can do in terms of stretching the line, when stretching the defense, and also considering the fact that, in the last 20 minutes, a lot of teams would be, the legs would be worn out. That's where you can bring him and you can interchange them as well, and you've got Uketuk Tulandlovu as well, who could always come off the bench, So I think the Swallow side do have players. You've got Cheeseboy as well. If you're winning the game, you just want to slow down the tempo, you can bring him on. And this is what I would be looking to do until Umtetwa gets fully fit. Then I'm going with Umtetwa there and 2 number 8 in Magaman and Tibedi. And then I would sacrifice Solomons, go with Makhalwa, Saleng, and then Musonda as well. So this is a team then that's got so many quality players and they can do so much, So I'm disappointed that they find themselves at 15th currently. But moving on right along then, at number 14, we've got TS Galaxy. What do you make of TS Galaxy's season so far?
I think, TS Galaxy they had a terrible beginning to the season. But, since with Coach and Gama, but since the new coach Sead Ramovic has taken over, it has looked quite positive. A bit of defensive stability, getting good results here and there. And just to comment a bit on that coach, I remember having a conversation with you on Twitter when he was appointed. I'm like, why are these teams always appointing plumbers? Shout out to my Twitter footy family. That is a term that you have coined. Plumber means basically a terrible coach. Let me put it like that. So we said basically, why are teams bringing such plumbers to our league? Because when I looked at Sead Ramovic's resume, it was the best role he had ever had was an assistant coach, and I forgot which team, but it was some team in Europe, and it was really not convincing. So I was like, why aren't they bringing in local coaches, someone locally? So I think the chairman Tim Sugas has been vindicated with the appointment of Sead Ramovic, and I believe he's doing wonderful things with the team over there. And I'd like to offer my sincerest apology to Coach Sead Ramovic. And then we're looking at moving forward in terms of personnel, I think they have good personnel in most positions, but you also have you have the gem in terms of Ethan Brooks. You have the gem in Ethan Brooks and other players amongst him who are quality. So I'm interested to see how they're moving forward, but I don't. With the way that they've been playing, unless they suffer a late season slump, I think they'll most probably be safe from relegation. But 13, they'll be around 13, 12. Not too far, not above top 10, but I think they'll survive.
Okay, and number 13, we've got Chippa United. So this is a team then that is infamous when it comes to the technical team and the coaching decisions which are made over there. And we currently know that at the helm, we've got Kurt Lentjes, who's, I would say that he's actually exceeded expectations, So far, so good. He's had a couple of very positive results, and the team seemed to be playing with a breath of fresh air. The team seemed to be playing with freedom. They are scoring the goals. They are creative, and so what do you make of that appointment? And do you think that he will be able then to lead Chippa United to a positive finish? Let me say positive finish, which is retaining their Dstv Premiership status.
I think Kurt Lentjes was a surprising appointment. If I can't lie and say Kurt Lentjes wasn't a surprising appointment.
Yeah.
Because personally, I would have expected for the chairmanship to just pluck out someone out of thin air. Maybe bring back an old coach. Maybe bring back
Clinton Larson.
Clinton Larson. Someone out of the air, even maybe Kevin Johnson. Maybe would have tried to convince Kevin Johnson, but I always ask myself, why do coaches keep on going to this team? But I had hope in terms of their project with Kevin Hunt. I had hope that they'll give Kevin Hunt the ability to because I think Kevin Hunt is one person that thrives with limited resources. I think if you give him the blank check, sometimes it doesn't really go to plan. But when you give him those tough resources, where he's able to have players who are able to implement the way he wants to play and play it out effectively, then you have something cooking. And they were cooking for the first 5 games. And after that, it went off the rails.
Yeah, I was very impressed, especially when you look at their back four. So. The biggest thing about a football team that I always look at defensive structure and solidity. Yes. Like a lot of people tend to look at the attackers, the nice players, but for me, a good team is built on a solid foundation of defense. And when I saw their back five with the keeper, Watenga in goals, at left back, Hanamum, they had 2 centre backs, Uzulu, Roscoe Peterson, at right back, they had Dunyalo. They kept a couple of clean sheets in the beginning, and they also stifled that Mamelodi Sundowns side. So I was very impressed. And then in the heart of midfield, you had Siabi, you had Ndlinzo, you had Mukele coming off the left, you had Libito off the right, you had Ngele, and then Sikotlong at times. So when I look at that Chippa United team, I see these players there, So I was very disappointed that Gavin Hunt couldn't really then inspire the team and really grow from that, especially with the start that they had and the impressive individual displays that we saw, because Roscoe Peterson and Uzulu were forming a quality centre-back partnership, and they were able to keep clean sheets. Hanamu was doing very well. Dunyalo was solid. Watenga was, also very, very solid within goals. He was, in my books, I had him and I had Toaster and Sabata as the 2 sort of dark horses, goalkeepers to look out for, who were doing well within the Dstv Premiership when they started off. So I was very disappointed that they couldn't really pick up from that. But I think what Lentjes is doing, so far, so good. And I just hope that he will be able to keep them afloat. And it's also nice to see a new face being given a chance, especially considering Dstv Premiership football, where we see the recycling of so many coaches. And hopefully he goes on to gain that experience and he improves his education from a qualitative perspective. He gets those badges as well, and he just keeps growing. I just hope that he's able to survive, and that in the second round, when we do come back from the break, that he doesn't struggle because of lack of experience. So when we move it on right along, then at 12th place, we've got Maritzburg United, Ernst Middendorp's team. What do you make of the German mentor's time with Maritzburg this season so far?
I think, it has been an interesting time with the team so far. I think obviously, they're quite a solid team, quite a solid team. Not really spectacular in attack, but they have a few interesting players in their lineups, and they've been solid. Obviously, relying on the veteran at the back. You're talking about your Clinton Daniels, even though he hasn't played that much. You're talking about your Nazir Ellis. You're talking even attack Bonguntle Shongwani. You're talking about those type of players. So it's been interesting to see. They're not really a side that will blow your mind. They're not really that spectacular. So I think they'll be safe. They're just a solid mid-table side, nothing too spectacular. They're not that bad, but they're not that good. Just a solid mid-table side.
It is what it is. Moving on right along then, at 11th, we've got Marumo Gallants. So Marumo Gallants, if there were to be a form table of the past 7 games, they'd be quite high up on that table, because they've collected so many points in that time ever since Dan Dance has taken over. So what do you make of Marumo Gallants this season and that appointment of Dan Dance?
What a brilliant appointment, outstanding appointment. And when you look at a team like Gallants, where you have those short, agile players who love playing off the ball. You're talking about John Gema, you're talking about Ndaba Iteta and Ndlondlo, Stash and Changas, even though you know what happened yesterday. But yeah, those type of players who are trying to play the type of football that Dendens plays, progressive football, comfortable on your feet. You also have your defensive stalwart in Nonyane. There, I've really been impressed with him.
Yeah,
you have Nonyane, and they've been wonderful to play, to see in terms of in terms of when Dendens has come in, and it's been interesting to see the team that they formed, and even the striker up top, Sede Dion.
Yeah,
I never knew really much about him, but he's impressed me at times.
Yeah,
and I think all they need to manage now, it's all about game management from now onwards, and I think they could be an interesting prospect. They might, because they're 10th now, I think the 11th, I'm sorry, I think they'll be able to maybe try and even sneak in a top 8 finish. If they push.
Yeah, so what I'm impressed by is seeing how Dan Dance has been able to really develop as a coach, because my biggest qualm with him was that a lot of the times they'd keep ball possession very well, but they were never able then, his teams wouldn't always penetrate into the final third successfully, and his teams then weren't getting the goals as well, which was then something that would often be an issue for me. So now to see that Marumo Gallants are scoring the goals, they're able to penetrate in the final third, is quite impressive for me, So I think that, they're on course. They can get that. They can just sneak that top 8 finish. Moving on right along then, at number 10, we've got Golden Arrows. What do you make of their season?
Golden Arrows under coach Leshonelo Siama. I expected them to even be higher than that. They've had quality players there. They have quality players. You're talking about your Pule Modi. You have Ngosnati CBC at the back. You have decent players all around. And I think I would have expected them to finish higher, but they've struggled at times. But sometimes, when you watch, sometimes you click onto a Golden Arrows game and they're playing a good game, a quality game. So I think they've been a solid side, and I'm expecting more. I'm expecting more, because I still feel that they can go just that level above.
Yeah, at number 9 then, we've got Cape Town City. So, Cape Town City, I think I've been very disappointed with Cape Town City's performances, especially considering the quality that they have. And when you look at their quality and you look at what they can do from a tactical perspective, so they can go with the 4-3-3 and they can switch it up to a 3-4-3 as well, So I've just been very disappointed, because against Mamelodi Sundowns in the MTN 8, when Eric Tinkler makes that tactical change, I think from there on, they just control the game, and I think that they could have actually gone on and won the MTN 8 final against Mamelodi Sundowns in the Dstv Premiership. They also played really well in Cape Town, so I've just been very disappointed. I just think that what Cape Town City struggle with is A, game management, B, intensity, and also then being able then to play cohesively at times. I feel like they struggle with that, and they're not always then able to ensure that they score those goals as a collective, because a lot of the times they've been heavily reliant on Umtu, But then what do you make of them going into the second round with regards to finishing off the season? Where do you see them finishing, and what do you think Eric Tinkler has to work on in terms of trying to get this Cape Town City firing?
Cape Town City are quite a solid. They have actually a great squad in terms of a few key individual players. I think I'm excited to see what happens in terms of the second half of the season. So it's just interesting to see how they'll end up. But I think they still need to be doing better, irrespective of them getting that MTN 8 final place. And they could have easily beaten Sundowns on the day. So that must tell you that even the next game that they played, they went toe to toe with Sundowns.
Yeah.
That should tell you something, that they are able to bring those particular performances. It's just game management and seeing how they feel. You're talking about I think I've seen something, I'm not sure, don't quote me on this, but it seems as if maybe Bradley Ralani is leaving. So I'll be interested to see how they replace such a key player. I think you also have the Kanyisa Mayo. Kanyisa Mayo, maybe he's the one to slot in as the Bradley Ralani replacement. Maybe they saw it in advance.
Yeah.
And I've liked the look of him in the few games that I've seen in him. And then you're looking at your Fakhile K. You are looking at your Fakhile K in there. You have Tabonota, even though he's not really been the same. Dum Tanzani, Mtanzani's quality.
Yeah.
Mshebelezi, Terence Mashiro has been quality attacking wise, but I still think that he needs to be careful defensively. And just to say, I want to quote my great leader from Puti Tita, shout out Tatishi. He's not really a big fan of Tariq Phillips and who's it? Tato Mukek. And those two players have played to the detriment of their team. So I'd be looking to maybe give them a break away from their team, because I feel in terms of defensively, those two players particularly have been letting them down in certain games. And I think, that is me.
So you think then, as a centre-back pairing, maybe then you go with Fasika and Mubara. You think that would be a better centre-back pairing?
Yeah, I think you institute a back three.
Yeah.
Institute a back three where you have, you're going to have, this might be quite interesting. It will also turn sometimes into 4-3-3, where you have Tamim Kize, you have Mubara as your libero, who's going to be able to spread those passes into midfield, and who's going to be able to progress the ball and step into midfield sometimes. You have off the left Fasika.
Yeah.
You have you can sometimes, maybe if you want, put Fasika onto the right center of the left. At left centre back, you have Terence Mashiro Mshebelezi. In midfield, you're looking at Thabo Notata. Thabo Notata, maybe you can sometimes play him with who do you call him?
Makola.
Makola. Or even maybe sometimes look to drop in Mdung Tanzani into that role, because Mdung Tanzani, he loves those runs in from deep. But I'll be looking maybe to put him in an advanced position, so you can have. You can be playing Makola here. You have Craig Martin. You have Craig Martin here. And then you're looking in terms of a front three. You have Bradley Ralani here. You have Mdum Danzani. Danzani can sometimes drop into here, play as a 10. You have Ralani having a free role. And then you have Fakhile K also off the right. So you'll be looking for your fullbacks to go up and down, especially with the pace and energy of Mashiro and Martins. You'll be looking not that as a box-to-box midfielder to facilitate everything. You have Makola, who's able to play make from deep, spreading the passes into these channels where you'll have Ralani
into the half spaces
where you have Ralani getting it in this half space. You have sometimes Tanzania getting into this half space. So it's all about the chances that you use. Vertical zone 5, you have Martin. Vertical zone 1, you have Mashiro, and I think you're sorted from that perspective.
Yeah, so there's many options that they could actually go with. I just want this side to do very well, because I think they can easily be a top 3 side in the country. One of the Soweto teams was just go to number 4. But anyway, moving on right along. At number 8, we've got Supersport United. Supersport United. There's not much to write home about. When you look at Supersport United, you just think Krobla, you think Kabuza, you think Bule, and you think Mokwena. Outside of that, and you don't really think much. Although I must say that I'm quite happy to see the youngsters coming through the academy. It's always a good sight to see, But what do you make of Supersport United with regards to Keitano Tembu's game model? And do you think that he's getting enough out of the talented squad that he has? Because if you have a look at that squad and you have a look at the spine, that spine is national team material. But he's sitting at 8th. And with that squad, not too impressed.
I think I would disagree a bit and say you have certain components at a national team level, but the squad as a whole, and even when you look after the first 11, I just feel that they need a rebuild, just a reset. They need to stop being conservative with money and start spending on those transfers and bring in quality. Yes, Kaitano Tembo might not be great, and I think for him also it's his time to leave, but you have to bring in a new coach because when you talk about Supersport, you're supposed to be talking a top 4 staple. You're talking a top 4 staple team, a team that is playing in Africa yearly. So you're just looking at that. So I'll be looking to, obviously, I think you will be looking at the sales of Mukwena and Mbule. And I think from the money that they'll be getting from those players, I think it's time to overhaul that squad and bring in new components into that squad. And I think from then on, then you can take it from there. But you still have Bradley Khobra, I think he can still give you another 2 solid years. You have Tammy Gabuza. You have still components that could do a job for you, but I'm not really that high on that squad. I just think maybe components of the starting lineup are quality, but that squad as a whole doesn't really excite me, and they deserve the position that they are at. I don't think they should be playing for the top 8. I think they're just languishing in the top 8 doing nothing. Not being exciting, so yeah.
And then at number 7, Sekhukhune. So it's their first season in top flight football. What do you make of their season so far?
Yeah, it's been a revelation for them. They've been, yeah. I don't like watching them. Let me admit this.
Yeah.
They play this. Me. I'm from Twitter, so I don't like using the normal terms. They play a brand of football that we call mud football.
Yeah.
Mud football is not really a football that you like seeing. It's just not entertaining. And personally, I watch football for entertainment, especially if you're not my team.
Yeah.
So I am not really that big on them, but they're doing their job. The coach is McDonald Makubedu, I believe. I'm sorry if I said it wrong, and Thabo Sinong. They're doing a great job in terms of what they have, and they're getting the results. For me, I think for them, that's all that matters. Yes, I might not watch them, but they're doing a solid job, and they're getting the results, and that's all that matters. As you see them languishing in 7th place. In 7th place, and you also have the key man, the goalkeeper, Tostan Sabata.
Yeah.
He's really impressed me, and they're here. You need a goalkeeper, maybe something.
But the problem with here is that when you guys sign goalkeepers, they end up getting decent. I don't understand. When players get to Pirates, especially goalkeepers, a goalkeeper will be doing well at his team. He comes here. This one. Man. When you speak about Sekhukhune, there's 3 players I'd like to speak about. And I think these 3 players are key, and that's if they don't get snapped up next season. And I say that because, yes, they play a brand of football which is all about percentages. It's very pragmatic. To a certain degree, I can sort of sympathize because it's the first season, and the most important thing in the first season within DStv Premiership football or in any league that you get promoted to, it's all about survival. So they're still in survival mode. But if they can hold on to Perusna, Mart and Lipile, I think this could form one of the best midfields within the DStv Premiership, and then look to incorporate Pachi off the one side, Matontzel off the other side. You've got Ohizu, who is their goal scorer. When you have a look at them, and then you've got Mobi, you've got Usilo Mutsepe, you've got Jima, you've got Jumpies, and you've got Sabata. When I look at this 11, I actually see a good 11, which could actually go out there and play a much more enterprising brand of football. I just think it's about them just being sure that they're able to survive this season, and then they look to grow. And Coach Donald and his technical team, they look then to institute maybe a much more free-flowing brand. Maybe that might not be the approach, but I just think that as they grow within DStv Premiership football, they might start to open it up a bit, because when you have a look at these 3 midfielders, those are quality midfielders that I think that most teams within the league would love to have.
I think just to touch on Mart, I think Mart is one of the best midfielders we have in this country, and I think it's been obviously since his injury, it's been a bit shaky, but I think he still can recover. And I think for your team, Kaizer Chiefs, I think maybe this might be the man to solve his problems. He's not going to come here.
I don't support a team.
You don't support a team?
No.
Okay, you don't support a team. Apologies. The yellow. I saw the yellow, and I think.
Oh, you saw the yellow and you thought,
I hear you, my
Yeah.
brother. Yeah, so yeah, Kaizer Chiefs. So you're looking at Kaizer Chiefs, I think he might be a solution to their problems in midfield because, they don't have depth. They don't really have depth. They're out here playing a guy is a problem. So, yeah, I'd love him here, but you know what happened with him, so I don't see him coming back. But yeah.
Yeah, speaking of Kaizer Chiefs, which is the next team, which currently sit at 6th place with 25 points. So Kaizer Chiefs is the one team that has had a plethora of headlines throughout the season,
It's very true.
Whether it's the signings or it's the coach or there's these postponements. What's going to happen? Are the games postponed? Are they going to forfeit? There's a lot of things happening at Naturena, But the big question then is, what do you make of Stuart Baxter's return to Kaizer Chiefs this season so far? And do you think that he is the man to take them forward?
No. Simple no. I think I said it. I was speaking on the platform on the spaces. I think in the beginning of the season, I said for the job Chiefs need. I even said that Molifintech is even a better coach for the project that you have, because at Chiefs you are looking to build something. You are looking to build. Obviously, you signed your Dolly. You still have your Billiard. You still have a few experienced heads, but there needs to be a revolution. There needs to be a new team that plays enterprising, attacking football. And I think I don't rate Molifintech as a coach, but I think you'll do a better job than Baxter. But for me personally, 10-111, Atazwani is the man to lead them forward. And as we've been seeing in the last 2 games, he has led them because of COVID, and they've been doing solidly. Obviously, they lost the game against Royal AM, but I still think there were good components throughout the match. I think they were just unlucky in terms of the chance finishing. So I personally I don't think Stuart Baxter is the person to lead them forward. I think obviously now he won't get his dismissal, but I just think he was never the solution to begin with. I think they became too hasty in looking for a coach, and you still had about a month left to look for a new coach, or even I would have said even at the time to give Coach Atazwani the chance, because Coach Atazwani had a good run to end the season after taking over from Coach Gavin Hunt. So I thought that was the way to go. So I'm really loving how they play under Coach Atazwani, enterprising, attacking football, fun football, and with quality players that they have, I think that is the way to go.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to play devil's advocate on this one when it comes to Stuart Baxter. So the first thing that we have to realize is, what does management want, right? Management, they want trophies, you understand? They want instant results, And when you have a look then at how they want to go about things, the first man which came to mind was obviously then Stuart Baxter, the last man to bring them success, right? So when you have a look at what Kaizer Chiefs are trying to do with regards to the management, I'm not talking about the fans, because what the fans want and what management wants are 2 different things. They want to see fast attacking, enterprising football, ball possession orientated, the youngsters being brought through, but that's not Stuart Baxter, And when you bring in Stuart Baxter, you know what you're bringing in. This is a man then who plays percentages football. This is a man who's pragmatic, and a man then who looks then to impose himself in a very particular way, which might not always be pleasing to the eye, So when you have a look at it then, I can beg to differ and say that he has brought progress to Kaizer Chiefs. Because if we have a look at the numbers, right? Let's have a look at the numbers, and let's have a look at football when we sum it down to what it is. When you have a look at the 3 components in football, it boils down to defending goals, creating goals, and scoring goals. Those are the 3 most important things in football.
Yes.
You have a look at Kaizer Chiefs, right? We'll start with the first one, which is defending goals.
Yes.
They don't tick that box because they concede goals, right? We'll go to creating goals. They create a lot of chances. At some point, they had created the most chances. And then you go to scoring goals. They score the goals. So if we were to have a look at those 3 boxes, Stuart Baxter is ticking 2 out of those 3 boxes, right? Then we go have a look at the other side of the coin, which we have a look at 4 phases of football. We're speaking transitions, we're speaking in possession, out of possession, and then set pieces. When you have a look at transitions, we know Stuart Baxter's teams, they're good at that. They can do that. He ticks the box there. Out of possession, I would say that not so much. I wouldn't say they really tick that box, but as of late, they have shown that they're able to press teams and they're able to play without the ball. So I would say I would tick that box, but it can get better. You know, it really can get better. In possession, not so good to the eye, but in possession, they're effective by virtue of the fact that they create chances and they score goals. You know, when it comes to set pieces, haven't been impressed. So you're having a look at him ticking 2 out of 3 boxes this side, 3 out of 4 that side. So when you have a look at the numbers with 25 points, and then there's still those 2 games where we don't really know what's going to happen, but I think that they'll forfeit the points. When you have a look at that, there's progress from last season, you know. So when you have a look at it from a quantitative perspective with regards to the numbers, there's progress, you know. However, if you want to have a look at it then from a progressive footballing eye, then of course I don't think he's the man. I think you give 10-1-1 the reins, you know. However, we have a look at Stuart Baxter and what he's doing. He's still going to be at the helm. And yeah, let's see how far he can go with this Kaizer Chiefs side. A team then that has impressed me the most this season, Stellenbosch, who sit at 5th, by virtue of the fact that they're able then to take up different tactical stances. Well, you have a look at against Kaizer Chiefs, they decided to sit back and they went with a 3-4-3. That has been Steve Barker's favorite formation. Against Sundowns, they decided to press them high up. And in both games, they got results. You know, they got a draw against Sundowns. They got 3 points against Kaizer Chiefs, which then shows you that from a tactical perspective, a lot is being done at Stellenbosch. You have a look at Dupree, how he's improved. You have a look at Mendieta. You have a look at Dingba. These are players then who were there last season who didn't do so well, but Steve Barker is then able to get the very best out of them. What do you make of Stellenbosch this season so far? And do you foresee them finishing within top 4?
I think it's been an interesting season. You know, I was doubting. I was one of the people who was doubting Coach Stephen Barker. I thought also that maybe it's time we look at our options and maybe try something new. But obviously, he has surprised me, especially with the tactical versatility that he has shown in being able to implement such different tactical game plans, to being able to institute a back three comfortably, and also switching in terms of game wise into a back four sometimes. So it's been interesting that how they've done. You're also looking there at the back. You have the experience Robin Johannes, such a stalwart. If this man, you can believe this man won the treble with Pirates, and he was still in his late 20s, or even I think late 20s at the time. So he has been a stalwart, and that was 10 years ago. You're looking at Sekhukhune. Sekhukhune has also been quality for them. Looking also in that enterprising front with Dengba and Mendieta. Oh, what a player! You know the South American flair. The South American flair is something so entertaining. Yeah. And you're also looking at Dupree. Dupree used to miss chances This man used to miss so much chances. The previous season, but he has improved in terms of his finishing, and also the wild card of the bench in terms of Judas Masiamedi, the man who loves the last minute goal. So yeah. And then at number 4, we've got Mam Kizer's boys, Royal AM. What do you make of their season so far? The Spice people. John Maduka. What an incredible coach! One of the coaches that I love. I think John Maduka is one person that I love because he plays enterprising front foot football, front foot attacking football, and it's so where you play attacking two midfielders who have almost focused on attacking in terms of Mashikinya and Mahlasela. In terms of in his midfield, you have Mahlasela. Progressing the ball, you have Mashikinya. You have the blind playmaker. He's also instituted that back three of, I think it's Mangai. I've been impressed with him. Such a solid player. You have the likes of Mangai in that back three. You have Nyame in goals. Even though he said a bit of his moments. You have your fullbacks, and then you've had the front three of Dumiso Mabena, Tebogo Potsani, and Victor Sepana. And that has been one of the front threes in the best front threes in the PSL, especially Lutzal. Lutzal has simply been exceptional this season, and Royal M has just been overall quality, and the way that the coach has merged in such a short amount of time, where the team only got bought from Bloemfontein Celtics in I think a week before the league, but Coach Maduka was able to also blend the players from Royal to form a winning team and a quality team, and I think here is the one team that I believe can push for that top 4, and because they have the quality, obviously I'm hoping that they back Coach Maduka in the January transfer window, back him with those 3 players, and they are going somewhere far.
So the man then who won Coach of the Season, Mr. Benny McCarthy, in the 18 area. He leads AmaZulu, and they do sit at 3rd, and they've had the most draws this season. You know, I think that's what sticks out like a sore thumb when it comes to AmaZulu's season. But we did see that they were able then to defeat Mamelodi Sundowns 1-0. You know, obviously with the goal then, which should have been adjudged offside. But it is what it is. The officiating at times can be poor. But they did then end the unbeaten run of Mamelodi Sundowns, and they do find themselves at 3rd. What do you make of Benny McCarthy and AmaZulu this season, and where do you see them finishing, considering the fact that last season they finished 2nd?
I was actually surprised yesterday when the match finished, and I went on to the log just to prepare for today's episode, and I saw AmaZulu 3rd. And I'm like, what is happening here? Because we've been talking about AmaZulu and becoming the new Swallows. Remember Coach Benny's comments?
Yeah.
And they've had 12 draws this season. And I don't expect a team that has 12 draws out of 19 games to be, in fact, in the in one of the best teams in the league. And it's been interesting. It's been a wild journey. I think the team has been set up at quality, in qualitative terms, at points, but also the finishing has been absolutely lackluster. They've been terrible in finishing. Also, the lack of concentration in defense has also killed them at times. So, hence why the reason for those many draws. But I still think that Coach Benny, in terms of his tactic of throwing players under the bus, I haven't really been the biggest fan. of that tactic, and I hope that now that his team is performing, I hope that he will refrain from such a style. And I'm looking forward to see what the season holds. I'm not really sure what's going to happen with them, because I just feel that Coach Benny this season has just been a completely different character, and I just feel that he's so combustible that disaster might just strike at boom, and then everything breaks. So I'm not really sure what to make up of them. They have the potential to stay in this position, compete and maintain this position, but I just don't think it's possible.
Yeah. So at 2nd place, another team then that has had a lot of draws. By his reaction, you could tell which team I'm talking about, the shirt that he's wearing. Yeah. Orlando Pirates, 2nd place. So what do you make of Orlando Pirates?
Orlando Pirates Football Club, I think,
1937 gang.
Hey, this team has disappointed me. Hey, I've been disappointed in this team throughout the whole season. I think the first decision is to sack a coach after one game. Yeah. Why couldn't, if you knew that this coach was so near to being sacked, why didn't you give the preseason to the co-coaches? To the new coach or the co-coaches that are currently sitting now? Why didn't you just give them the full preseason to implement the ideas? Now they're busy trying to get results while trying to implement a style of play. It's just been a disappointment. Obviously, the injuries have also killed us in terms of defensively, in terms of attacking wise. Defensively, we've been solid at times. Obviously, the structure has been solid, but we just have players who have a mistake in them consistently. But in terms of attacking wise, we've had so many injuries. You're talking about Vincent Pule he had four assists in 6 games. Vincent Pule. We've also had at times. We haven't seen Zakelele Pasa this whole season. You know, we've just been having injuries here and there. And also, I think so. It's just been a disaster of a season. Yet to finish. They had to a 2nd, but watching those games at times has been torture. But it's looking better. You saw the combination of Pepper and Lodge yesterday. You know Lodge, Tembiongosi Lodge. I think one of the best players in the Dstv Prem, and a player who's so wonderful, the hub to this Pirates team, because as you just see the difference in those 10 minutes that he came on against AmaZulu, you could just see a different Pirates team to a one that you've been seeing all season. And I think with the fully fit launch, I think that is the key to our aspirations and to our aspirations for the season. So it's just about seeing what happens throughout the season. But it has been The log says otherwise, but I feel it has been a disappointing season. I think given our tactical choices from the coaches have been questionable. Personnel choices have been questionable. So I really, even though the log says second place, but to be honest, watching that team, I haven't missed a Prize game this season, and I can tell you for sure that I haven't been happy for at least 70% of the time.
Sure. I hear you, my brother. And then at number 1, such a huge point difference, currently a 16-point gap. We've got Mamelodi Sundowns. And this is a team then, from a qualitative perspective, they tick so many boxes with the players they have, the style of play. And man, when you have a look at this Mamelodi Sundowns side, it's such a beautiful footballing side. Such a beautiful footballing side. And man, I guess the only question is, how much longer do Mamelodi Sundowns keep dominating this league?
My Sundowner people, these people have been dominating. At times people have fought with me when I say, even as a Pirates fan, when sometimes I just have to give off the head to the head. And that this team has been exceptional. They are dominating this team. No team is looking close to even doing something against them, and they just have quality everywhere. Quality everywhere. You're talking about Onyango in the goalkeeper wise, Rushin Derek, the best centre back in the league. Someone who has been so brilliant for them. You're talking about your midfield stalwart, Mhlegazi, Andy Lejali. What a player. What a player. You're talking about, obviously, up front you have Shalulile, top goal scorer in the PSL. Even though I have a bone to pick with him in terms of his chance finishing, I still think Shalulile should be sitting on 20 goals this season. Because the amount of chances that he gets created by players like Mkulise, like Naomayema, like even your deep playing playmakers in the likes of Rivaldo Cotier, Andile Jali can also give us a nice pass here and there. You're also looking at the crosses from Laila K and Tabelo Morera. So I still feel that I still have a bone to pick in terms of Shalulile. He's an outstanding striker, best striker in the league, but I still think he's here, and I still think that he can still go here. He's currently sitting on 12 goals in the league, if I'm not mistaken, but I still believe that he's supposed to be at around 20, because that's how much chance creation he's been getting. And finally, the best player in the PSL, Themba Mshishizwane. What a phenomenal player. What an absolute phenomenal player. Just a person who is able to do everything. Someone who makes that Sundowns team tick. Even though Sundowns is such a brilliant team, but every team has to have its star player. Every team has to have that player that makes them tick. And I think we have that in Themba Zwane. I think even top 5 players in terms of our whole continent. And just what an impressive player. And just to tip my hat off to the co-coaches, Coach Rolani Mukwena and Coach Mangoba Ngwiti, they've been doing a solid job. You are saying, I was one of those people who had hoped that maybe there's something that will happen there, they will clash, and then maybe the Ghosts will take the title. But it has not really happened, and we have to give credit to them. We might criticize them at times, but I think yes, they may have all the players that you can claim they have, but at the end of the day, they produce the results and they produce the style of play.
Well said. So, in the extra time segment, as we do round off this special episode, we're going to have a look at 3 fixtures, as we do know that the Dstv Premiership is coming to a close. So, the first fixture then is Kaizer Chiefs versus Maritzburg United. Who do you think wins that one, and why?
The Glamour Boys, Abafana Bepefeni, Kaizer Chiefs will be taking this one. I just think that the reason Chiefs were quite good in the game against Raleigh, I just think that they just simply didn't finish that dinner. And because you have a team that and I think they'll be able to focus more in terms of attacking wise, because I don't think a team like Maritzburg gives such a threat in terms of their attacking wise. So I think they'll be worried more about attacking and not I think sometimes in that game they were worried about being vulnerable on the counter-attack and not sometimes pushing enough players forward. So I think it is a Chiefs win all day, every day.
So I definitely agree with you on that one. I just think with Maritzburg United, final third penetration is non-existent, and they just don't have that creativity and quite disappointing because you've got a young player like Rowan Human there, a player who I think has so much potential, and can play as that number 10 for Maritzburg, where he can look then to create chances for Bongagutle Shongwane and for Sumara up front as well, So, yeah, quite disappointing then with regards to how their season has gone, in my opinion. I just feel it's been lackluster more than anything, So, yeah, Kaizer Chiefs definitely do walk away with the win there. So, the next game then, we do have Orlando Pirates versus AmaZulu.
I think, I would love. I think I'm gonna just back my team on this one, even though you saw AmaZulu have that enterprising display against Mamelodi Sundowns. But yeah, and obviously our recent result with Sundowns. But I always have to back my team and hope we can do the job done, because I think we had a sticky. Pirates had a sticky first 20 minutes in the game against Marumo Gallants, but was able to recover well. We saw that link up with Kwame Pepper and Lodge, and I'll be hoping that they come back and shoot that link up. And I think one thing that Sundowns failed to do yesterday that I think Pirates is to do is that Pirates have short players, so I think we'll be able to play the ball on the ground more. I think Sundowns played the ball high up a bit too much, so I think the centre backs from AmaZulu had a nice time dealing with those long balls, because they love the ball in the air. So I hope us being able to play the ball on the ground will help us in terms of that. But obviously we must be afraid in terms of AmaZulu, what they have in attack. Amigo Memela, most probably Augustine Mulenga will most probably get the start after the goal he had. You're looking at your Tabotalinges, people who are tricky to deal with. But but my team has let go many players.
Look how many you're counting.
They're playing a front row of players. So but I don't know.
And it ends as
the score. I'm saying 3-2 to Orlando Pirates.
3-2 to Orlando Pirates.
Yeah, I feel a high-scoring game coming.
High-scoring game coming. Okay, so mine is simple. It's a draw. Orlando Pirates versus AmaZulu will end in a draw, guys. It will end 1-1. But anyway, moving on right along. The last game then is Mamelodi Sundowns versus Marumo Gallants. What do you make of this encounter, because it's got all the makings of a very entertaining match, especially when you look at two sides then who appreciate ball possession, who are looking then to play swiftly through the half spaces, progress the ball, and then look to penetrate into the final third. What type of game do you see, and who wins the game?
I think it's going to be an interesting spectacle that we have said, but obviously I would have said a different thing had it not been for the events of yesterday. So I think Mamelodi Sundowns will be looking to make a statement, come back strong, and I'm going to go a bit top heavy. I'm going to go 4-0 to Mamelodi Sundowns. I think they'll be angry, they'll be devastated after losing that unbeaten record, and I think that is most probably one of the last things that they are left to do in terms of the PSL after dominating Super so much here. So I think they'll be looking to bounce back very hard, and I think that will be the perfect fixture, as there's only one fixture left for the year, and we close for the Christmas break and the AFCON break. So
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first from Fenzo himself. Thank you so much, my brother, for coming through.
Thank you for the episode.
I thoroughly enjoyed this, thoroughly enjoyed this, as we had a look at the Dstv Premiership, and we didn't exclude anyone. We're not biased. We went through all 16 teams. And that is normally then my favorite episode when it comes to Dstv Premiership football. So thank you very much for tuning in to yet another special episode of Diski Talk with Leolo. Please do take care of yourselves during this festive. Please do drive safely, and make sure that you make it into the next year so that you can enjoy more content in 2022. It is Dstv Premiership action. Babies, the bonke, signing out.